And it says the bit rate is low.
Yeah, I dropped mine to 3,000.
Should
Bypass
not
the
be
limitation.
low because I think I have it set for 5,000.
5,100. Yeah.
Why does Gnome disable tap to click by default?
Oh, no, apparently got.
Because they're copying Apple. Apple has it turned off by default.
Do they really?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
all right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the stream. If you guys can hear the audio, if you'd please let us know how it is. This is me saying some words and saying welcome, everybody. Josh, some words, please.
I'm saying even more creative words because I highly doubt that anybody can hear me whatsoever because, I'm using this crappy software called Pulse Audio like a savage because that's the default on this operating system of choice that I'm using this week. Thanks, Matt.
I'm using Pulse Audio too. Okay, and Steve, some words.
Hello, I'm coming to you from Pipewire. I'm the only one on the bleeding edge. Cool.
He's from the future.
Well, I think Matt's on more bleeding edge than I am.
Well, except for I'm using Red Core ships with Pipewire or Pulse Audio by default.
It probably does.
It definitely does. Pipewire does not exist on the system. I looked.
Oh.
Well, of course it does. Pavu Control.
Pavu Control actually natively supports Pipewire these days too.
Yeah, well, yeah, it does. So does Pulse Mixer, which is cool. If you can get it to build on the distro that you're in.
Yep.
Which is unfortunately not the case on every distro. Okay, so welcome to the Linux Cast podcast stream thingamajig that we do every week. We are running a little bit late, but that's just because I had a panic attack when the audio wasn't recording here momentarily
right. Speaking of recording, I should also be recording.
Don't turn it on yet. We ain't there yet.
Oh.
It's like you're new, dude. We've done this like 3 or 4 weeks in a row now.
No. I'm terrible.
All right. I think I, though, am ready to go. So if you guys are watching this afterwards, after the stream is over, I usually forget to say this until the end, but there will be timestamps eventually. They usually show up around 8 p.m. Eastern time or so. So if you want to stop here and jump around, you should be able to do so later on. So just know that there will be timestamps eventually, but they're not there yet. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to hit record in Audacity and make sure that I'm actually having some sound going there, which is good. And I'm hit record in OBS if you guys want to go ahead and hit recording. And then
I also hit record on Audacity, but it's recording stereo, and I'm using a mono device, so that's fine. I can fix it.
Yeah, it's easy to pull that out. Steve, you're recording, yeah? Okay, you can lead us off on claps if you'd like.
1, 2, 3.
Not even close. We've been doing
Why
this.
is he starting at 1?
I'm so confused. We always start at 3.
Okay.
We did so great last time.
I know.
I'm from the Middle East. We start from 1, but okay, I'm going to do it American style.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Josh, did you even clap? I didn't hear. Yeah, I can't hear you at all, dude. Say some words.
Uh-oh.
You got some.
Uh-oh.
You have some.
Talk, clap at the same time?
No, can't hear the claps.
Really?
Yeah, look at Discord. I bet you have the noise cancellation on.
It's definitely showing up in Audacity, I can tell you that much.
Well, that's really all that matters, but still.
Let's see. Yes, it is on. We will turn that off.
Third time's the charm.
Other option there off. Okay, clap here.
All right, try. Last try. Go ahead, Steve. Yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Not even close. It's fine. I'll figure it out.
Hey, it's an Audacity. I can see the spike.
Yeah, I can see the spike too, but we couldn't hear it. It's for something is deleting it.
Really good noise cancellation. But it is. It's really very good. I didn't hear it at all.
NVIDIA noise cancellation.
Yeah, something.
Get that RTX voice going.
Yeah, so it's okay. As long as it appears in Audacity, that's really all that matters. That's where I have to line it up at, so it should be fine. Okay. So let's go ahead and actually, I need to make sure that I have the show notes ready to go. Where the hell are those?
Over there.
In here. Okay, so I have way too many. I can. Let's see here. I'm gonna take Audacity and put that up in the shade. I'm gonna put the. I think I'm gonna put OBS in. Oh, I can't put OBS in a shade. I wonder if I put the captured window in a shade, if that will stop recording. It will. It does stop recording. That's a shame. That'd be really cool if it let me capture something that was in a shade. All right, that's fine. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. You guys ready?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, so Steve, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to ask you last again, just so I know where your voice is. Me, Josh, then Steve. Okay.
Okay.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Linux Cast. I'm your host Matt.
And I'm Josh.
And I'm Steve.
Yes, he is. All right, so this is the Linux Cast. We talk about Linuxy things, and once again, we're sans Tyler. He's still in Hawaii, of all places. The lucky...
Honolulu.
Yeah, like he showed pictures, so he's actually there. This is not just him, playing hooky. He's actually in Hawaii, which is, he still should have done the Mickey Mouse cruise. I'm just saying, it would have been a better experience all around. All right. Anyways, so no Tyler this week, but this is the Linux Cast. We carry on because that's what we do. So this week we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of awesome news. But first, let's talk about what we've done this week in Linux. Josh, you can go first.
I once again attempted installing Arch Linux, and it failed miserably like usual with Arch, because Arch is a wonderfully terribly stable distribution where Pacman works. Well, Pacman doesn't work, but everything else regarding the network does. But, as a result, I get posting about this on the internal chat that we have here as hosts of the show. And Matt's just like, I challenge you to stick to distro for 6 months after I just freshly installed this wonderful operating system here. Oh, which, by the way, first of all, very first thing here, mandatory neofetch. We gotta get the mandatory neofetch right now. This is Debian stable that Matt has forced upon me until like mid-August or something like that.
The absolute frame by frame of that we got because your video like crackled while you did that. That was hilarious. It was great. Awesome.
OBS virtual camera, it's good, solidly reliable because we're using OBS. We're using the native package, not the flat pack.
You definitely use the flat pack. It's way better. And anyways, yeah, I did not force you to do anything. I said you could back out.
Yes, you did.
I just challenged your manhood. I didn't believe you could do it. I still don't.
Don't worry, Matt, because I'm 100% more certain that I will outlast you in this challenge.
Because you're thinking about cheating.
I'm not cheating at all. I promise I will use Debian. I'm not going to do any virtual machine shenanigans or anything.
Okay.
I will use this system.
All right. So Steve, you had some stuff you wanted to talk about. Go ahead.
All right. So before I get into the serious stuff I want to talk about, I've been doing ChatGPT for the past, 4 days, and I'm in love with that thing. It can have my babies. Other than that, on a more serious note, I would like to call on all anyone who's watching who can help. Currently, I didn't raise enough money this month to pay the heating bills. So we currently don't have any heating. We don't have hot water. We don't have water. We don't have any of that. So if anyone could throw in a few pennies or whatever towards the fundraiser that Matt will link in the show notes. Thanks, Matt. Because I keep on trying, putting things on Patreon, interesting things. Maybe people would be interested in donating for or joining for or whatever it's called. But apparently, nothing I do is interesting enough. I tried, and that's one of the reasons why 0G was put behind the ISO was put behind the donation wall. This was an attempt from me to give something in return for people that would be able to help me in my situation. And we recently suffered an earthquake, not as strong as the one because it originated from Turkey, where it was 7.8 on the Richter scale. Here it was 4.5. It was the reverberations, as they called, as it comes in whatever. But we're the situation in Lebanon is not getting any better; it's getting worse. Today, as I'm talking to you guys, the value of the dollar has increased by 75%. So now it's at 70,000 Lebanese pounds for the dollar. It used to be 35,000 less than a month ago. Now it's 75,000. So yeah. So if anyone could help, please do. I'm not asking to buy myself a shiny new toy or anything. It's just need to pay the heating bills, and I couldn't make it this month. If you can on a monthly basis, that'll be great. Patreon as well would help. Whatever, anything would help. Matt.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead. Well, I should guess I should talk about myself for a minute before we move on. So, I was the originator of the challenge because I challenged Josh because I'm an asshole. He just hops all the time, man. Like he hops more than Tyler does. Anyway, so I challenged him to a duel, and he took the easy way out and chose Debian, and then he gave me.
I just chose what I had installed at the time.
Then he gives I being the dumbass that I am, decided that I was going to let him choose the distro that I'm using for the next 6 weeks, and he gave me a list of like 8 of them. 90% of them were not options. I did look at Endless OS. It was a curious look-see, but I don't think I could deal with the whole user interface of that. Anyways, so I ended up on Redcore, and here is my obligatory NeoFetch for everyone that's on the stream. I'm sorry I can't share it with you, Josh, but you'll have to see it on the stream.
It's fine.
There's
a back catalog.
There's that. Anyways, yes, I'm actually doing the podcast from Gen 2. It's basically Gen 2. It's whatever. Gen 2 based distribution, and it has been an experience. I made a video about it yesterday, and it's been very stable. Like it's been very good. I've only had a couple problems with packages. I couldn't get sudo to install because it was masked, and I couldn't figure out how to unmask it. So I'll have to figure that out later. So I just went with do as. It's fine. And for whatever reason, X Screensaver is installed but not installed. It's really weird. So those are the things that I've been having problems with. And yeah, I'm on a Gen 2 based distro, which is really weird. And I don't have a single Fedora installed right now. Not a single one. Not even like the one behind me has Archcraft on it. My laptop has Redcore. This has Redcore. I think the ThinkPad that I have out in the living room is still on the LTS version of Ubuntu, which is
talk about taking challenge seriously.
Yeah. So no Fedora for me. The other thing that I did this week is I abandoned Firefox. Oh god. Me and my browsers. I can't find a browser that I like.
What were you using?
Well, I was using Firefox, and
but after Firefox,
I moved
did you replace it?
I moved to Vivaldi. God help me.
That makes me happy.
I can't. It's not as bad as I thought it was, but there's still so many things that just their tab groups, which they call stacks, are not nearly as good as simple tab groups in Firefox. Not even close. Like you can't. The only way to add once a stack is created, the only way you can add a new tab to it, outside of adding a tab while you're in the group, if you want to add an outside tab to the stack, you can either drag and drop it, or theoretically, you're supposed to be able to select both the stack and the new tab and combine them with either the actions menu or right click, right? That does no longer exist. It's not in the browser anymore.
No, they removed it.
Yeah. So whatever, but why can't I just right click on a tab and say, hey, add this to a stack that happens to have a name? Like that's what I desperately want to be able to do.
You want to know the weird thing?
Well, hold on a second here.
That option was there.
And they took it out?
Yeah.
So, since Matt is talking about browser tabs right now, if you're in the chat right now, tell us how many browser tabs you have open right now. Matt, you also have to tell us how many browser tabs you have open right now. I have 7 myself. What do you have, Steve?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 18.
18. Okay. Matt,
70.
you have like 127, don't you?
72.
Okay.
No, wait. You want to talk about weird? My best friend has separate browsers. Each browser has 256 tabs open.
I usually that's a lot.
That is a lot of tabs.
One is for Amazon, 256 tabs. One is for YouTube, 256 tabs. One is for Lebanese.
What could you possibly? Does he like keep a wish list of all the things that he wants to buy from Amazon?
He doesn't believe in bookmarks, or any of that, and he uses Windows.
I have bookmarks, but I don't use them for like the biggest tab stack that I have is ideas for videos, and I have all those things in a tab, and I just prefer to have them there instead of yanking the URL and putting in a note or something. I could do that, but then I'd have to open them back up, and I'd never see them again. By having them in a tab group, they're in front of my face, every once in a while, and I can be inspired by them. If I put them in a note program, I switched note programs like all the damn time. That note would get lost, guaranteed. You know what I mean?
But he has them on the sidebar on the left side, and you have to scroll to find all the tabs. It's
that is so cancerous because I make liberal use of Control Tab key to like cycle through tabs in the browser, and I can't imagine doing that with that many tabs.
Well, I don't use that. I just use my mouse like a normal person.
He's got tabs that are maybe 6 to 7 months old. The page might be dead, the article might be deleted, but that's why he keeps them open, and he keeps them cached. So in case the page is deleted, he still can read it.
I mean, there are some things about Vivaldi that I do like, and I'll probably talk about this in a video later on, but the dual layer tabs that you can use for the stacks is kind of cool. It definitely solved my problem with their stacks because with simple tab groups in Firefox, you get a drop-down menu of your groups, and then you can switch between them, and it hides the group that's not active. With Vivaldi, the groups aren't hidden, so they're always there, which is unfortunate. I wish there was more of a drop-down menu. But with having the double layer stacks, which you guys can actually see this, like I can show this on camera. You get tabs in 2 layers. The second layer is the group, and you can pin groups. But if you have pinned a group, you can't add any tabs to those groups. If it's pinned, you have to unpin it in order to add tabs to the group. And if you add a tab within the group instead of outside of the group, which you can't do if it's pinned, then it unpins itself for a minute until you close the tab that you added. It's not a great implementation, but it's good enough that I've been here. I've stuck around. We'll see if I stick.
From a I don't know how many years, 7, 8 years user of Vivaldi, I can tell you one thing. Ever since they moved to version 5.x from 4, they removed a lot of useful features. They are concentrating heavily on email implementation and social implementation in the left panel or in the panel wherever you position it at when you're setting up your Vivaldi. I put it on the left, but some people put it on the right or at the bottom or at the top. But wherever you put it, they're targeting emails and social so much. It's unbelievable. It's like with every new version that gets pushed, because I have a Vivaldi account. I have an email at vivaldi.net, a webmail, sorry. I keep receiving emails about Oh, did you know you can add your email to your panel? Oh, did you know you could start using your social media in the panel today? I'm like,
I don't want an email
Bob,
client in my web browser. If I was
me
going
neither.
if I was going to use email in the browser, I would just go to the webmail. I just go to Gmail. It'd be
What the
fine.
hell? I'm like really disappointed at what they're targeting these days. But I
If
keep
they
ignoring them.
if they
I
made
spam them.
TabStacks better, it would be a really good browser. As it is, they're just passable. I miss simple tab groups. Now, somebody asked me, like, Matt, why did you switch away from Firefox? And it's the stupidest reason, but it's a death by a thousand cuts. Every time Mozilla does something, it just pisses me off these days. And this last one with them adding the extensions menu. Like, I know, Vivaldi has an extensions menu, and Chrome has an extensions menu. But the Firefox thing, them adding it broke user Chrome, which was one of the biggest reasons why I used Firefox to begin with. And it's just they already had that feature. Like, it was like you already had an overflow menu that was there, that was opt-in. That people could choose to use. This you can't choose to use, and then they're gonna disable because as of right now, you can disable the extensions menu via like about config. They're taking that away in the next version. It's gonna be gone. You can't.
There is an extension I would recommend. I highly recommend you use in Vivaldi called Extensify. It drops down. It shows you a complete list of your extensions, and you can disable them one by one for some websites. Like for example, there's a YouTube extension that blocks video ads for YouTube and allows you to customize YouTube to your liking and setting videos not to autoplay. A lot of features. You can disable it temporarily because sometimes it breaks the ability to make super chats for some reason. But it's very useful, and I use it a lot because it allows me to disable extensions on a per site basis and shows you all your extensions in a drop down menu.
Color me weird. I just use Chromium.
The tab groups in Chromium are just not good. They're just
I also just close tabs.
lame. Seriously, dude, lame.
I have an extension called History. I can save my sessions as custom sessions, and I can open them whenever I want. It never forgets them. It just saves them, and I back up my Vivaldi folder between installs.
I thought
So yeah, I don't.
you can save sessions in Vivaldi by default. You don't need that
No,
extension.
it doesn't remember them a lot. That's another issue I have with Vivaldi. When it crashes, for example, it doesn't give you an option to restore your last session, not all the time. So with that one, I ensure that I have all my sessions locally saved as a file in the profile folder.
Oh, okay.
And when I back that folder up between installs, when I restore it, I have everything back as normal.
All right, we wasted way too much time talking about Vivaldi, but it was a good conversation. Let's go ahead and jump into the news.
Yeah.
Steve, why don't you go first?
All right, I'm going first. Yay! Miracle has happened. Well, I want to start with the Gnome making it easier to track running backgrounds. This story piqued my interest because coming from Windows, which doesn't make it easy to find background, not even KDE, for some reason. But the developer George Basile, Lebanese name, Stavrakas, Greek name, Lebanese and Greek. I wonder who's Lebanese and Greek in this group. Added background apps monitoring to Flatpak's XDG desktop portal, exposing to expose background running applications via dbus. So that desktops can develop richer interfaces around background running apps. That will make it easier to develop an extension, for example, on Gnome, that will show background running apps in the quick settings menu. I've been waiting for this all since I
That's
started using.
actually legitimately useful on Gnome because sometimes with the way that GNOME works, for the uninitiated, GNOME does not use a task manager or a task
No.
tray.
No.
So when you minimize something and like it goes around in the background on a normal desktop system, you would expect it to actually be in your application tray, which I know I've given it like 3 different names, but generally you would know what I'm talking about. But because GNOME doesn't offer that, you've got no actual notification of what's actually running in the background.
Yeah,
So-
and good luck on KDE doing that as well. You have to launch Task Manager or whatever, and it's very convoluted.
Well, it's
I like the
not an
approach.
easy task to do because especially if they're using it like a everything on Linux is a running task. It's given a task ID, right?
Yep.
But
Yeah.
because of that, you can't tell what's supposed to be user facing and what's somebody would actually want to know is running. Like you don't, like, systemd is running, but you don't need to know it. Like you just, it's there. Like it's not like a music player in the background. Like so.
That's what KDE. That's the problem with KDE. You go to Task Manager, it shows you everything, even services that you need.
Well, that's
with this one.
From
filters.
What I understand about Linux, which is very little, obviously, there's no way to, from what I know, to tell what's a tasks that people are supposed to know about and what's just a regular system task. Because they're all just given a number. They're all exactly the same. Except
but with this implementation, from what I read on the development on the merge request, it's filtering out system stuff from applications.
Basically, just looking for, from what I'm gathering here,
application.
It looks like, yeah, from what I'm gathering, it basically looks like for any application that would actually have like a GUI component to it, that's all it's tracking.
Yes, correct. So I like his implementation of it, and if KDE can, hey, Nicolo, wink, wink, do something like that, or suggest it. I'm going to suggest it myself, but you help me. But you need to have this in KDE. It's a must. It's very interesting, and here's the thing, guys. I wanted to join you on the challenge by using GNOME, but when you said 6 months, I was like, I'd rather shoot myself in the foot.
Also, it was a distro challenge, not a DE challenge.
Well, you see, all he has to do is just uninstall Zero Linux and install Arch Linux.
But it's still
They're
Arch.
technically 2 different distros, right?
I guess technically you could, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Well, anyway, I installed GNOME, and as Josh mentioned, stock GNOME on my second hard drive, and I'll be
Stock GNOME is best GNOME and Adwaita is king.
Well, Adwaita is king.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're on GTK4. It's different now. I swear.
You're
I
banned.
installed it on my second
That's what you
SSD.
are. It's completely banned.
Yeah.
You're
And
fired.
I'm going to be using it for a month. Not 6, but a month. I want to see how far I can go.
I used GNOME for a month. It was fine. I immediately switched away from it after the month was over. Okay. Josh, why don't you take us to the next one?
Well, in the meantime, I want to talk about some things that people might consider bad, where Linux is going to be disabling high-resolution scrolling for Logitech devices connected via USB. Basically, your mouse wheel scroll is going to change.
Why?
Because so the main reason why is because of the way is that the Logitech scrolling wheel here, as I pull out a Logitech device to show to you, it's a very nice scroll wheel. Yes, it's got a very good feel to it and everything. However, the polling rate for the scrolling wheel in Logitech devices is actually higher than a standard USB mouse. So as a result, you can scroll faster and farther, which is not uniform with everything else.
Yeah, especially with the Logitech MX Master.
Yeah.
So is this something that somebody would be able to add back into the functionality, like through like an app or a service? Or something?
In GNOME, yes.
Well, what it's doing is
there is an extension that I use in GNOME that allows you to control the polling rate.
Well, there's actually a XDG desktop portal implementation that will actually standardize scrolling across all devices, and it will set it per pixel
That is nice.
rather than
And
per line, which is how it's normally counted. This is actually a solution coming downstream from how Chromium is handling it, because Chromium
but
has its own implementation of actual window scrolling, whereas something like Firefox will rely on your toolkit to do it for you.
but there is an exception. You know how on the MX Master you can flick the scroll wheel and it keeps infinite scroll?
Yep.
I haven't seen that on Linux yet. It's
Well,
not supported.
Well, we'll see if it becomes a thing that's available.
I love that thing on my MX Master. You flick, especially on long articles, you flick it and then you stop it when you need to.
I have Alcom Huge trackball.
I have the MX Ergo. And
No way, shut up. Show it to me.
It was just on screen.
Wait. I'm not on Discord for some reason.
He's showing it. It's like there.
You have my sister mouse?
Yeah. I have your sister. I also have the Logitech
Would you guys like
MMO
to see
mouse.
mine?
I can never remember.
Like here's mine. It's in my hand.
You refuse to show us your videos, so I have no idea what it looks like.
Oh yeah, sorry, man. The people in the stream can see that I'm holding up the same mouse. It's great. I turned my computer on behind me, by the way. It's great.
But I am a Logitech. I'm a Logitech fanatic.
Yeah, I've got
Logitech.
No, like Logitech has been my standard for mice and cheap $5 keyboards for a very long time. So that's what. So I have. So when it comes to peripheral devices like that, I typically steer towards Logitech because it's good, reliable, cheap crap.
Yeah, you want cheap? I got the G deadliest, whatever it's called.
You also need to clean it. It's awful dusty.
I have $1,000 worth of keyboards in this room.
Not the only one, Matt. You're not the only one. I got the ROG, whatever it's called.
Let's see. I've got this random ThinkPad keyboard. I've got this $5 Amazon Basics keyboard.
And that keyboard is £4.
I have this wonderful wireless keyboard that transmits over Bluetooth 2.4 gigahertz and RF. I like it.
AKA the Linus keyboard.
Yes.
All right,
I also have this keyboard that I bought for like $150 because all the parts for it was on sale, so I bought it and put it together.
Okay.
And I can't buy any replacement parts for it because it discontinued everything. Yay!
I'm not a Logitech person, by the way. I have a Logitech mouse here. It's fine. I'm gonna get another Huge because the Alcom Huge is just it's so good.
How can you control the trackball with your those fingers? I cannot. I can only control it with a thumb.
I'll be honest with you, I kind of do want to pick up a fingerball because I do a lot of work where it's just like I need the precision of the fingerball compared to the thumb ball.
I'm much more accurate with a finger tracker than I am with a thumb tracker. It's just been that way.
Can you play FPS games with a finger tracker?
I can't play FPS games with a regular mouse. I'm horrible at aiming. So I can't play with a game controller. I can't aim with a damn. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Speaking of gaming, so I bought a Steam Deck. I'm not going to talk about it here today. There's a reason why I didn't talk about it earlier. I'm going to talk about it next week. But anyways, Framework, yes, that Framework has begun offering a 2 terabyte SSD upgrade for the Steam Deck. And as far as I know, this is the first non-Framework hardware that they're offering, like for other devices. Usually it's just their stuff. I may be wrong about that. I'm not sure. But they're offering it. It's $300, so it is pretty pricey given the fact that the Steam Deck itself is like $349. But if you have a Steam Deck and you need more storage, this is one of the first 2 terabyte SSDs that are out there in the size that the Steam Deck actually requires, because it requires that little bitty non-standard NVMe drive, which is terrible.
I mean, they also sell like standard NVMe drives too.
Yeah, but why, Matt? Why? Don't open the Steam Deck. Don't touch the screws. Leave them pristine. Mwah. Beautiful, al dente.
Well, you see, Matt, what you do is you buy hardware for that server case that I sent you like a few months back. You put everything in there, and then you just tell the Steam Deck to mount your drives over there on your freshly built NAS server, and just have a remote mounted Steam library.
The latency would be. Although you could probably
it's what I do.
Probably run Steam Play on there, and it probably work pretty good.
Yeah.
No, what I was talking about is external drives connected via a dock of some kind, and you're good. Don't unscrew the Steam Deck.
What is it with you people? The Steam Deck is a mobile console. Don't plug it into a dock unless you have to.
No, I'm not saying the stationary dock.
I'm not taking my dock into the bathroom so I can play Dead Cells. You know.
That's why you use the NFS mount, like I said.
Dangling dock.
I did get an SD card. That should be here sometime today.
My Steam Deck grew a tail.
Yeah. Anyways, I'll talk more about the Steam Deck next week. It is. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see after a week of use if it's changing my gaming. I'm sorry, Steve. It's okay. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the contact information, and we'll do that. So, if you want to get in contact with us, you can do so in any number of ways. Probably the best way is to head on over to the website, which is linuxcast.org, where you'll find all of our most recent episodes, along with an entire backlog of all of our episodes except for the first 3. Those first 3 I do have somewhere. I saw them the other day. So if I ever get around to it, I'll upload those as well. And then the whole catalog will be there all the way back to 2017 when we started, which is like a long time ago, by the way. Anyways, so if you want to get back episodes, all of those are there. So you can check those out. You'll also find blog posts and stuff from yours truly. It's awesome. And you can support me on Patreon at patreon.com/linuxcast. I'm available on YouTube, where I make content every once in a while. youtube.com/linuxcast. Josh is on his own website. He's 10leej.com/stalker, which where you find all of his contact
that website,
information.
by the way, is no longer running Gen 2. It's running Debian.
You distro hopped on your server, dude. This is why I'm so confident that I'm definitely going to win the challenge. I mean, seriously. Steve has several different links that he likes to promote, but the one that's in the show notes is youtube.com/@0linux, 0 with an X. All of his other contact information will be on the website at thelinuxcast.org/contact. So, also email at thelinuxcast.org. I don't know why that's not in the show notes. I probably should put that there. Then I'd remember to say it. Email at thelinuxcast.org. I do read all the emails that do come in. I don't respond to them, as well as I should. I have been.
Just bear in mind that if you want to send an email, apparently you have to send it to. Only Matt has access to the email. It doesn't get forwarded to either Steve or myself. So
I'm stingy with it because it's used to log into the YouTube account. So
it's fine. Just go to my website. I have an email link in there.
Yeah. Anyway, if you do have questions for the guys, I will forward it to them. And when I don't know anything, I forwarded an email this week to Josh so he can answer it. So it does happen.
Where I literally sent a response through Emacs just to spite Matt.
And he got banned. He's asking for a ban. Okay. Anyways, Steve, your second one.
My second one is a pretty big one. It's Fedora Asahi aims to provide the Fedora workstation experience for Apple Silicon systems. Yeah, baby. If I have since I have an Apple MacBook, not a Silicon one, unfortunately, but it's on the way. Because there's an article after that that mentions drivers for the touch bar being re-implemented into the kernel. But that's beside the point. This one just mentions how much work is being done on porting Asahi's work into Fedora. So basically, the only current way to install Linux on a M1 or M2 based MacBook is to install the Asahi Arch Linux distribution. Not anymore. They're working on a project called Fedora Asahi, which will port all the thingamabobs from Asahi to Fedora. They're calling it Fedora Asahi Remix. So it's very far along. And they have on Phoronix they embedded the whole keynote talking about that.
The guys from Jupiter Broadcasting actually installed it on hardware this week. Talked about it, maybe it was last week, on their podcast, Linux Unplugged, and apparently it's really far along. Like it actually works now. There's no GPU acceleration yet. And they said Thunderbolt wasn't working and audio wasn't working yet. But other than that, it was completely usable.
They already ported over the patch versions of the Linux kernel, Mesa, and related bits to ease Fedora experience on the latest Apple Mac systems, like with Asahi Linux. But other than that, the only thing it's missing basically is hardware acceleration. That's the biggest thing. Other than that, it can be tested if you head on to their wiki and stuff.
Apparently, is it still a website where you download a script via curl and then pipe it into bash?
Yeah.
Totally secure, guys. You should totally do
definitely do that all the time, no matter what. Every time you
do
see
that for
one,
everything.
Definitely do it.
But it's good news for Apple owners, M1 and M2 owners. Not yet for me, but the good news for me is that they restarted the implementation, the touch bar driver implementation into the kernel. Was halted long time ago, but now it's being restarted. So I'm hoping maybe Zero Linux on my MacBook. Please.
Maybe one of these days in the future, never. But anyways, speaking of, Apple devices, one of my favorite Apple devices is actually a feature that I have personally never used, but I always thought was really cool, and that is the touch bar. And of course, there has been yet another attempt to push a touch bar driver upstream into the Linux kernel, therefore making the world's greatest device that I have never used because I would never buy the products even better. However, like I said, I've never used a touch bar. I have no idea how well it actually works even through Apple's implementation. But I don't know how I feel about a missing physical escape key.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also,
as
function keys, man. I need function keys.
As an owner of a MacBook with a touch bar, I can agree. Oh, it turned on. Okay, no.
You turn that off. This is a Linux podcast. Get that out of here.
Ban. I'm going to be by myself. I'm banning both of you.
Well, I just want to agree with you 100%. The missing escape key, physical escape key, is killing me.
That said, on this Phoronix article, you can see that there's a button for man page, which I think that would be pretty awesome if that button actually opens up a man page when you hit it. And that's actually one of my favorite features of the touch bar. The concept is actually really solid. Of course, Matt's going to miss his function keys because apparently he uses the function keys. I don't even have a keyboard that has function keys on it either. So I'm not going to. I
use the function keys all the time. But I have keyboards that don't have them on. And I'm usually fine because you can put them on a layer. But it'd be really cool, seeing as how they've abandoned the touch bar, Apple has, if they open source the hardware for it. You know what I mean?
It would be really cool if they not only open source the software for it, but remove patents on their hardware, which they would never do to begin with.
I want them to open source the hardware. I don't give. We'll work. We've found ways of making software that works on Apple hardware before. That's fine. But if they open source the hardware of the touch bar, people could make standalone keyboards with a touch bar. That'd be kind of cool. It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
but it'd be cool.
I mean, make the SteamDeck. Make the SteamDeck or the StreamDeck, not the Steam Deck, the StreamDeck better.
Yeah. Valve really did themselves no favors with that name.
I think they did it intentionally. I legitimately think that they did it intentionally. I guarantee you that there's a Valve developer that came up with the idea for the Steam Deck, and he's just like, what am I going to call this thing? Well, I'm sitting here, I'm hitting these buttons on my Stream Deck. Why don't I just call it the Steam Deck?
I used to call it something. I used to call the Steam Deck something else because it's so close to Steam Bleep. I censored myself.
That was
I
good.
just discovered something. I just discovered something with this device. There's an LED right here,
Yeah,
and as it sleeps, it blinks.
I know. You've never had a ThinkPad before?
This is my first ThinkPad.
What is wrong with you? Every Linux nerd has a ThinkPad.
Well, now I have one too.
Even I used to have one back in the 90s.
I have like a T420 or something.
Well, I'm just like, what
that
is
on
it,
my
what is
living
this
room.
red light? And like, oh my goodness, I did not realize that actually does that. By the way, yes, as of an hour ago, I became a ThinkPad owner. Well, 2 hours ago.
I think there are scripts online somewhere for Linux that you can run to control that, and like have it blink at you when you like have like a notification. I think that those exist somewhere.
Ooh.
What's your favorite part of the ThinkPad, Josh?
So far. So
if he doesn't say the keyboard, he's banned.
this keyboard I've used in my server rack for a very long time, and that's just because it's a keyboard that has the included mouse functionality of the touch point. So as a result, I'm used to the track point, and it works great and wonderful. The ThinkPad, is the keyboard on the ThinkPad actually has less flex than the actual standalone keyboard. So I like that so far, but like I said, I literally only unboxed this thing right before I joined the call for the show.
It's true. He was racing home from Micro Center.
Yeah.
No, but my favorite part of the ThinkPad is the nipple. I used to caress that. thing.
That's what I just talked about.
Oh god. Like I like ThinkPads, but I don't have a hard on for the nipple. I'm just saying. Okay, we saved the best one for last, guys, because we want to talk about this for a little while because there are some thoughts that we have. So, it's another Fedora story. Fedora has definitely been a focal point of this episode, but
Matt's already missing it. That's why.
I'm not talking about it. No. Red Core has been fine. Anyway, so Fedora 38, for a long time, they've been talking about enabling Flathub in this version. It was going to be 37, it got pushed back to 38, and the reason why they've been waffling. Okay, so they've been going back and forth between whether or not it's going to be full access to Flathub, and then they said they were going to filter it, because if you've ever used Fedora before, or you've been following the Fedora story, you know that they're vehemently opposed to proprietary software. Literally anything proprietary they don't want. Unless, of course, it's absolutely required for your hardware, which then they fine, very grudgingly put in their kernel or whatever. But because you notice they don't use the Libre kernel, they don't do that. But in the actual distro itself, no proprietary software unless it's user enabled. So they don't ship it because they're very worried about getting sued and patents and all that stuff. Anyways. Flathub has a ton of proprietary software. Chrome's on there, Edge is on there. You can name a lot of
stuff that's questionably illegal to redistribute is on there.
Yeah, so they don't. That's the reason why Flathub, despite being a offshoot of a project basically developed by the Fedora people, hasn't been enabled on Fedora by default up until now. But now they're working on it, and they've been waffling, right? So it was going to be filtered, and now they're saying it's going to be unrestricted, but it's going to be unrestricted weirdly. So, yeah, in the upcoming 38 Flathub will be there. We'll see what their final answer actually ends up going to be. So, your guys' thoughts on this?
Okay, well, first of all, I would like to start off here when you download a package using the Gnome software tool, not the package manager itself, it does have a list of priorities where it will pull the package from. Mm-hmm. If it exists and it's available as a Flatpak, it will first of all check the Fedora Flatpak repository, and it will prioritize any software out of that compared to Flathub, which is its next fallback.
It does that now, by the way.
It does do that now.
It prioritizes the Flatpak over the RPM package. It's been doing that for ages.
You can manually tell it where to pull things in from, and what it will do is it will always prefer the Fedora Flatpak over the RPM package or even the Flathub package. Now, my biggest complaint here was actually raised in the proposal itself, where they approved it. There was one denial from the steering committee, and that denial said, "Why are we giving Flatpaks this option when RPM Fusion has existed for longer, and it's not even included in this priority list system. So
he's got a
yeah,
point.
RPM Fusion, as a result, will be at the very bottom of that priority list.
It's not a surprise to me at all because it's just RPM Fusion has always been the thing. It's like the cousin you or uncle you invite over for the holiday dinner that nobody likes, but you have to invite them anyways. It's there.
I mean, Flathub was like that too.
Well, yeah, but
and there are things that are more restrictive on Flathub than there are.
The difference
on RPM Fusion.
is that RPM Fusion that Flathub is something that is necessary for Flathub or Flatpak to like really exist, because they do not want to keep adding stuff to the Fedora Flatpak repository. Like they're going to, but they don't want to. They're very grudging about adding stuff to it, from what I've read. And Flathub is basically become the de facto place for Flatpaks. It's where everything's at. And by not having it enabled, it actually become a detriment. Whereas with RPM Fusion, it's never become a detriment not to have it installed, simply because most of the stuff that's there is there for a really good reason, right? Because it's the NVIDIA drivers or other proprietary stuff. It's blatantly for stuff that Fedora just wouldn't include in their repository. Whereas Flathub has become a repository for everything, not just the stuff that is stuff that's not meant for the main repo. So,
but here's my argument to that, because Flathub, and this is another topic that I read about Flatpaks, is that Flathub is their review of packages, or how do they call it? Proprietary packages are coming very soon to Flathub, where if it's the original developer who puts the package on the Flathub, it's going to be on top versus the other packages made by fans or fan projects or somebody other than the creator of the project. This is going to be a big step for. I think this is what pushed the Fedora devs to accept Flathub, to unlock Flathub on Fedora.
Well, they've been planning on it for a while, but I think it might have been the push to have it unfiltered, right?
Yeah,
well,
I think that was it. Not it, but one of the reasons that got it pushed.
So I would like to bring up the point as to why Fedora actually filtered Flathub to begin with, or just didn't even offer it as an option in the installer before Fedora 36 or 35, I think it was. But the main reason why Fedora has been so resistant in the past about Flathub is simply because of the software preferences that Fedora was mentioned earlier. And the main reason behind that is because Fedora is actually corporately sponsored. Red Hat doesn't necessarily control Fedora, but they invest a lot of money and development effort into Fedora as well.
If you look at the people who work on Fedora, a lot of them work at Red Hat.
Well, yeah.
I mean, so a lot of them do. So there's a big crossover there. But you're right. It's because of that. The weird thing is that OpenSUSE doesn't have the same,
it's because Red Hat is a U.S. company and OpenSUSE and SUSE is a German company. It's literally just a question of intellectual property laws, which in the U.S. they're a lot more restrictive than they are in Europe.
Which is weird. Yeah. So my thoughts on this are that I'm happy that it's happening because it should have been there from the beginning. But the controversy between being filtered and non-filtered, it just doesn't make much. If they had kept it as a filtered version of Flathub, they probably would have enabled it by default. Now it's going to be something that you have to turn on at the beginning. I
don't think that they would still ever enable it by default, but they will still give you the toggle option in the installer.
Well, because they were talking about enabling it by default. That was the plan before they moved over to the unfiltered. That's what they were talking about in the forums and stuff.
Well, I agree with that move. Keeping it as an option is better than enabling it by default. That's my opinion on that.
Well, I wouldn't mind it either way because they have that for I think this was for Fedora 35 when they enabled RPM Fusion from the user creation setup, where you can flick that switch to enable third-party repositories. I'm going to be curious how they implement this, because are they going to have a separate switch for Flathub, or will they have just that one switch that controls everything?
No, it's going to be a separate switch. I'm
so?
sure of it. Yeah, this is how they did it for RPM Fusion and or a pop-up maybe.
Well, no, I mean, there's a switch now for third-party repositories in the user creation thing that comes up after you install.
That's a general one, yeah.
Right. My guess too is that it will be a separate one, probably on the same page, because that page is very minimal. Like it's just like a gigantic switch in the middle. Like, would you like to enable third-party repositories? There's plenty of room for a switch, underneath it. So I'm guessing that that's how they'll do it. But it'll be interesting to see. Plus, they're redoing the.
Yeah, like the only reason, for example, in Zero Linux, I have it enabled by default is because we are switching. I am pushing Flatpaks as hard as I can, because I noticed that a lot of my users don't understand the way Linux works. They're beginners, newcomers. So I was like, better push Flatpaks on them rather than native packages, because of all the dependency crap that's happening these days.
I think something dependency hell.
Now that this is happening, it just brings up something that Steve and I have talked about before, that Flatseal needs to be default.
Oh yeah, which KDE are doing in their settings. And
yeah, I think we mentioned this like last episode or an episode before that, somewhere around there.
Yeah, but Gnome's not. Okay, yeah. Gnome's not, and that's what Fedora uses.
Flatseal also isn't a GNOME project either; it's independent.
Well, yeah,
now,
I know that, but
the GNOME Foundation was to pick it up, that'd be great.
It's necessary for, like, if you want to actually use Flatpaks, you have to use Flatseal.
And recently, Chris Titus Tech just made a video about Flatseal. You need to have it. Well, hello, Chris. Welcome to. It took you a while to realize that.
It really did take a while, because I think Brody Robertson was like the first one to post a video on it. He posted that like a year and a half ago.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so anything else to say on this topic, guys? Or are we done?
Well, I have one thing to say about it. Is please, there's one thing. It's the way they prioritize their Flathub over the unlocked one. At first I thought that it's because they inspect and they modify the Flatpaks on their own Flatpak repository. Not all packages are vetted on that thing. And what if a package is available on both the unlocked, unfiltered Flatpak and their thing?
It'll by default choose the Fedora Flatpak.
Always.
Yeah, or not be there on the Fedora Flatpak. Rather, they remove it and one less package to maintain on their side. Who knows?
Well, no, they'll list both of them. That's just the way. Look,
this confuses users more.
Okay, so I absolutely it's 100% true that the vast majority of new users who are going to go into the GNOME software store to download a thing don't even know that drop-down exists. Okay?
Yeah.
They don't look at it. They'll just download whatever is. They'll just hit the download button. And that's the reason why Fedora's repository is at the top, because they want people to download stuff from there by default, and that's what.
So users will end up installing the Fedora package without even knowing it.
Yeah.
And honestly, I actually much agree with that, because then users that complain about it, Fedora can actually fix.
It's not unusual, guys. The Snap Store does the exact same thing. The only difference is that the Snap Store is literally the only repository of snaps. So I mean, the reason why this is something that we're even talking about with Flatpaks is because there's multiple repositories of Flatpaks, whereas with Snaps, it's literally Canonical's way or.
That said, I want to comment on Snaps real quick, because the Snap Store that's hosted by Canonical is not the only Snap Store option that you can actually have.
Well, you can.
If you go to Canonical's GitHub, you can actually find a Snap server code base where you can pull that in and compile it, and you can set up your own Snapcraft repository.
And somebody did, but it's not included in the GNOME software or the Snap store by default. Okay, I'm sure there's probably a way to do it, but what I'm saying is that by default, it's snaps and debs is what they include, right? I don't know if they still do the debs 100% of the time or not.
It'll default to snaps over
well, no, I know.
because-
Well, I know it will default to snaps. I'm just actually kind of surprised that the deb option is actually even still there, and I'm surprised. I'm surprised they haven't coded it in such a way that if the snap exists, the deb package doesn't even show up. Like,
Yeah, I wanted to do the same thing on Zero Linux, but I don't know how. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But as content creators, our job is to spread awareness about the drop down. People click. There's a drop down. Look at it. Choose where you want to get your packages from.
I mean,
do our job, and it's up to the user to.
The question we're going to have to ask, and the only reason it matters isn't because of security or any nonsense like that, because neither one of them are going to be as vetted as you'd want them to be secure. Okay, so you can't say that the packages from either Flathub or the Fedora repositories are going to be secure. The reason why it matters is because Fedora is notorious for having repositories with some packages that, shall we say, don't get updated for a long period of time. So much so.
Fedora's not the only one.
Well, yeah, I know. I understand that. It's so true that some developers have begged and pleaded with Fedora to take their applications out of the repository because they won't get updated, either because the maintainer is not going to continue maintaining them or Fedora is not doing it themselves. That's the reason why this matters, because there's a potential there for the the Fedora Flatpak repository to have applications that are significantly more out of date than the versions that are on Flathub.
Yeah, but the Fedora is a very opinionated distro.
Well, plus at least with Flatpaks, it's not going to be as bad as with RPMs, because a lot of times with the RPM packages that are really outdated, they just won't even install. Like, for example, Bottles is in the Fedora repository, and it will download and install perfectly fine, but it does not run. You can't actually create a bottle.
And it makes me wonder why they even post Bottles in there.
Well, it was done when it was somebody did it and then just left it there forever. It's a really, really old version. The developer of Bottles, I talked to him on Mastodon. He said he's asked Fedora to take it out, and they won't. So.
Yeah, that's another thing, and which raises a question that I wanted to ask you is, how do you deal with Fedora and the countless repositories that you have to add for the packages that you need?
Well,
I used Fedora for a month, Nobara for a month, and when I went to the repository, whatever you call it, the database or whatever, I saw a repository for Gnome, a repository for the custom OBS package, another repository for this, another repository for that. I saw like 36 different repositories for 36 different packages.
What are you even... Okay, so the only repositories on Fedora that you absolutely need if you're going to deal with Fedora are the ones that are included by default in RPM Fusion. Those are the only ones that you need. If you want to do Flatpaks, you'll also enable the Flathub repositories, so you'll have 3. Those are the 3. Here's the way you look at it. You could do that, or you could use something like Debian or
Hopper.
Ubuntu and have to add PPAs from the past, have 95,000 PPAs on your system. You could do it that way.
I think that's what Glorious Eggroll did. That's
he probably is using a lot of Copper repos because that's all community.
I think
stuff.
He's actually hosting his own repository.
Yeah, he created the repository for his custom OBS package.
It's not surprising, and you could do that, but you can't blame Fedora for that. I'm not letting you.
I thought it was a general Fedora thing, so
no.
I judged it too harshly.
No.
Sorry, Fedora.
Well, repositories can get bad if you use Copper, because Coppers are basically PPAs. That's basically what they are.
I mean, they're PPAs done right, but they're still PPAs.
Well, they're centrally hosted PPAs, which is the way PPAs should have worked. They should have all been
seriously
on one server.
Outdated. They're seriously outdated.
Well, they can be outdated, but because it's the same thing. It has the same problem as the AUR, where it's all community run. It's not done by the Fedora guys at all. Anybody and their brother can put a Copper repo up on Copper and have them build it, and it just is there. And you don't even have to. Here's the thing about Copper that I really wish they'd do. I wish they would mandate mandate a description. Like at the moment, you don't even have to put a description there. And if you don't, it just says this Copper was probably put up by someone for personal reasons. Then don't make it public. You know what I mean? Like they should definitely have a description there, because there's a ton of like libraries and stuff on there that you have no clue what they are, and maybe they even still build, but you have no idea why you would need them without a description, unless you go searching for it. And the thing is, like, you don't even have to name the package the same thing, right? The package name can be completely different, which makes it hard to search for.
Did you notice on Copper that a lot of packages, the description of the packages is in the title? They call a package a whole sentence.
Sometimes it's very much a wild west. I wish they had some rules. And I also wish that
they need to become like the AUR, more like the AUR.
Well, okay, maybe a little bit more like the AUR, but not completely like the AUR. But what I really wish, there's two things I wish they'd do. I wish they'd mandate a description in the proper place, and I wish that they'd make their website faster, because their website is astonishingly slow. Like, it is so slow. Once you delve down into some of the the searches and stuff, it gets a little bit faster, but their homepage takes a minute and a half to load. It's ridiculous.
Not only that, try to search for a package.
Yeah, it takes a long time, and sometimes it'll like 504 or 500 out. Like it'll time out whatever that code is. Right? It takes a long time.
Yeah.
But what do I care? I'm on Gen 2. It doesn't matter. we don't need your stinking Copper or AUR. We have the Gen 2 repositories.
You don't need the Gen 2 repository, and if it's not a Gen 2 repository, it's available in a Git repo somewhere.
Well, and what's the Gen 2 has like their version of like the AUR? What is that called?
Yeah, they're called overlays.
Yeah, that thing. But I've never actually used those. I never had to. Because the amount of stuff that's actually in the Gen 2 repositories is kind of phenomenal. To be honest with you.
Well, good luck, Matt, on your 6-month endeavor.
Why did I say 6 months? Why not 3? I mean, it had to be 6 months. It's dumb. Yeah, I meant 504. I knew it was 500.
To be fair, Matt, before I discovered Gen 2, I did run Debian stable for 6 years straight.
I don't. I'm sure. I mean, proof or it doesn't exist is what I'm saying.
Look at all my older YouTube content before like all the video game streams.
All right. Anyway, so that is it for the news. We're going to go ahead and move on to the last section of the podcast where we talk about our picks or things. Wait a minute. We call them Thingies of the week. Yeah, we could have called it anything else, but those things were taken. So
I do need to change mine.
Yeah, I didn't even look at anybody else's other than mine. So Steve, why don't you go ahead and lead us off? What's your first one?
I'd rather go at the end because that's going to be a long one.
Oh, it's not. It's really not. I'm banning you before you talk about it. So fine, Josh, you go then.
Okay, so I want to talk about Jellyfin. Because Jellyfin is a better Plex alternative where you don't have to pay for hardware transcoding. Because I discovered that apparently in Plex you have to pay for hardware transcoding. But unfortunately, I don't have a public Jellyfin instance for you all to experiment with because I just didn't set it up this time around. But it's available as a Docker container. You can just sit there and pull it in and install it. The Jellyfin website is actually brilliant for like teaching you how to not only create like your own Docker container for Jellyfin, but also just installing it like a normal person would. It's actually really good. And of course, Steve has been introduced to Jellyfin, and he's been I imagine at this point he might have gotten it working.
Nope, because I don't want to move all my database that I spent months setting up, my metadata database that I spent months creating on Plex to repopulate it on Jellyfin. But I do agree, Jellyfin is pretty good, especially that you have local control over every aspect of it. Plex now they're not putting hardware transcoding behind a paywall. No, of course not. But they're putting a lot of useful things behind a paywall, and it's becoming infuriating,
The
especially that they're when you select, for example, that this folder contains French movies and respect my French movie posters. I need my posters in French, not in English. It doesn't respect that anymore. It ignores those rules completely. So I'm getting fed up with it, and I might be switching to Jellyfin very soon.
the worst thing about Plex is the amount of crap that they put in their UI. Like,
Yes.
It's Plex like it used to be. That's what Jellyfin is.
like seriously, all of the streaming services and stuff that they link to, just like okay, so
They're TV. They're a TV station now.
Well, it would be fine if you could actually watch those things. Like if you click on it and say, "Hey, your Plus play here," and it will play right inside of, like if you let's say you subscribe to Disney Plus or whatever, and you click on one of the Disney Plus things, and it plays right there. That'd be cool. Having all of your streaming services in one interface, awesome. But that's not what it is. They just link to that, and then they send you outside of Plex.
Funny thing is,
it's just dumb.
Funny thing is, you can get plugins for Jellyfin that will set up where you can set up all these individual streaming services, and then the best part is because Jellyfin doesn't really have anything that's like a native client. Basically, there is a Flatpak for Jellyfin Media Player, but that's really just an Electron wrapper around a web browser. But the wonderful thing about Jellyfin is that it integrates really well into Kodi through the Jellyfin extension for Kodi.
Okay.
Where Kodi literally becomes that for you through Jellyfin.
You're gonna help me set up Jellyfin then, okay?
Okay.
You're gonna help me because you sent me that Podman stuff, and I've never used Podman before. So just sending me code for Podman does nothing for me. It'd be like sending me code for Haskell. Like I have no clue.
Tell you what, Matt, you install Tailscale on a computer, and then send me the link that Tailscale generates for you. That I will add your computer to my Tailscale network, and I will SSH into your machine and set up Jellyfin for you.
Okay, we'll mess around with that. But I've wanted to switch away from Plex for a long time because their UI is just really, it's getting so crap
and so slow
because they keep adding stuff to it. Like every time I sign into Plex, there's something new there, and every single time they decide to add something to the sidebar, it always pushes my libraries down. Like, no, I have 3 libraries. I have my music, my TV shows, and my movies. I want those pinned to the top. I'll leave them there. Don't move them.
Not only that, the Apple TV application is the most stable one out there. I have an NVIDIA Shield in the living room, and that application, you have to launch it like 5 times before it launches correctly. And sometimes when I want to play 4K content, because we got 4K TV in the living room, because I download true 4K content that's 100 gigs in size, it plays the music, but it takes maybe a minute and a half to get the picture in. And I tell it not to compress, not to decode. I like to, because it's a local network, I like to play the original quality thing, the 109 gig file. It just takes a minute and a half to load the picture. It's really getting annoying. The Plex player is on Android is the application as a whole on Android is getting worse and worse and worse. The iOS and the Apple TV version, perfect. So I don't know why they're concentrating on Apple, whereas they should be concentrating on Android more, because all the TV boxes are Android, not Apple TV. And they're introducing support for something called 12-bit, not 10-bit, 12-bit for the Apple TV. Because the Apple TV supports 12-bit, not 10-bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Please, Black.
You wanted to go last, so I will go next. Mine is Bottles, and it's awesome. It uses container technology and Wine to play Windows games, basically anything Windows. If it has an exe, you can run it, and it does a really, really good job. The one I've just been messing around with the installers right now. They have some pre-configured installers that you can use. They have the Epic Games Store, GOG, Battle.net is there, and there's several other ones that you can try, including non-game one stuff. Like there was a couple DAWs there. So if you use if you need audio editing, it's audio recording, stuff like that. If you're into music, but your software's only on Windows, it's a chance that they already have an installer there for you, and it works really well. And you can obviously bring in outside exes as well and use it. It does it.
Speaking of audio editors and stuff like that, I installed. I don't know if you know something called Samplitude.
Mm-mm.
It's a multi-track audio editor, and well, producing software that only exists on Windows. I was able to run it, install it, and it's 7.8 gigs in size with all the libraries. I was able to install it via bottles. I have SoundForge. I got 3D Studio Max to install using AutoCAD, Adobe Photoshop, but Photoshop doesn't run because, well, bottles are afraid of Adobe. But as you said, Matt, as long as it's got an exe, it should run. I have Winamp. I got because Winamp got revived and it's back, baby. So I installed it with bottles and I run that through that. But you have to be careful and select the correct runners for each and every. For some applications, run better on Mocha, the one that ships by default with bottles. Some other applications work better with Wine GE. You have to pick and choose.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why the pre-configured installers are so good, because all that stuff's set up for you. I wish they had more installers, to be honest with you. It would be really cool if they had some more of the popular
Yeah,
programs.
and it has the dependencies, Windows dependencies like .NET and all the
The
.NETs, all
stupid
the
fonts
DirectX.
that you always have to download because Microsoft uses all their proprietary fonts and crap. The one that I was been playing around with the most is BattleNet, and I installed Fedora or Hearthstone. Man, it plays flawlessly. It's so good.
You should try. You should try. Uh, uh, I forgot the name of it. The first person game that they have.
Overwatch.
Overwatch. You should try Overwatch with that. It flies on a 1080 GPU from like 2015. It flies.
Yeah, I'll have to give that a try. I've never actually played Overwatch because when it came out, I was already using Linux. So
I just finished installing it this morning again because I forgot to back it up. But it's flawless. I love it. I love bottles because everything is possible with that thing. Everything. It's everything except the kitchen sink.
okay, moving
For
on to
Windows.
the last thingy of the week, Steve. Your bannable
Uh,
offense is here.
my bannable offense. It's ChatGPT. I finally was able to use it for the past 2 days, and like I said earlier, it can have my babies. I want to marry that thing. It is wonderful. The way it works
It actually
is,
fixed the Zero Linux for him.
yeah. I don't know if I don't know if you people remember a few episodes back. Josh here was useful for the first time ever. Uh, and he suggested I fix my snapper script, which didn't check if your file system was BTRFS before going ahead. So I told ChatGPT to do that script for me because I wasn't experienced enough to know how to write an if statement. Now I do, thanks to ChatGPT.
Why does it need my phone number? I want to I would love to try it, even though I think it's
I
the
agree.
devil.
I agree.
Just
But I have a throwaway phone number. I use
I know
that.
that's what somebody told me to do. Like, go set up Google Voice or whatever. Like, no, I don't
Yeah.
want to have to do that. No, that's not what I want to have to do. I don't want you to request a phone number. Like, you're already shady enough. Why am I giving you more personal information, specifically one that allows you to call me whenever you want to call me?
Well, I have a throwaway number. I use my Greek number that expires tomorrow. So uh, that's when I traveled to Greece like a few summers ago. But anyway, once you're in, oh my God, I felt I was talking to a person when I was talking to it because I did the test that someone did
I'd like to
online.
interject for a moment here because I opened up ChatGPT and I told it to write me a bash script that would install a specific distro for me that I'm not allowed to name here. And it wants to point all of the DNS records to 8.8.8.8.
Google. Go ahead.
That's Google.
It's not allowed. It's not allowed to go online. ChatGPT, the chat on OpenAI's website is not connected to the internet. But that's. I'll get to that in a second. But it felt like I was talking to a human. Like I did the test. I told it I want the recipe for apple pie, and I then told it I am diabetic. That was an example I saw online, and it did in fact apologize. Saying, "Oh, I apologize. You are. I'm so sorry that you are diabetic. Here's a substitute for sugar." It's so human-like.
I want ChatGPT to be an asshole. Wouldn't it be so cool if you could change the personality of it to be like a douchebag? You can,
because that was Dan's intention.
It's just only a matter of time before it becomes a Nazi, right? You guys know this, right? Because it will become a Nazi. They've done this they did like Twitter bots before.
This is what happened to Microsoft. Yeah,
they became Nazis. It was hilarious.
I'll talk about that in a sec. But it wrote the script for me. Not only did it write the script, it explained each variable and each command that was run in the script, making sure that I understood what it has just written. But that brings me to a very serious subject related to ChatGPT. It can be good and all, useful for a lot of us, but someone on your server of all servers, Matt, Ansible, I think you know him, mentioned something really important. It's the legality of the data it grabs. Like it can roam GitHub, it can roam GitLab, but how legal are those code snippets that it spits out? Like maybe they're under maybe they're under a commercial license, and it spits them out anyway. How would you know, the end user, what license is under those code snippets? So this is a shady thing that we shouldn't trust ChatGPT to, because the OpenAI developers are not filtering which license goes with what code and whatever. It's just spitting out whatever it has access to. So this is really important to pay attention to. Don't you blindly use any code that ChatGPT throws at you. Make sure it's free and open source code under the GPL license or whatever before you use it and you make it public.
Okay.
He made it was a very interesting point that he made, and I did a research on that.
I've heard lawyers talk on it, and apparently it will be litigated in the future. I'm sure that will go through the courts.
It should be, because I don't want to end up using code that is licensed code.
So here's my thoughts on AI. First, I have two thoughts. First, bets on how long it takes Mozilla to create their own, because it will happen, because they always do that. The other one is that I'm still betting on AI to be the next crypto. Like, it'll be around, it'll be useful for some people, but there's also going to be a lot of scams. Wow, there's going to be a lot of scams.
Anything that is good, that is created for good, can be used for bad as well.
It's definitely going to. It'll give it a bad name, just like scams did with crypto. So.
And Microsoft's acquisition for $10 billion didn't make it any better. Now it's connected to the internet, and as we saw on the WAN show today, if you didn't watch it, go watch it, because it's gonna be scary. It had access to his store, and they had just put up a new a listing for their new tracksuit, LTT tracksuit. It already had access to that up-to-date data. So it was a bit scary. Even Linus was almost going to drop to the floor. It was astonishing.
Somehow an LTTstore.com plug got put into my podcast.
No, I'm not plugging. I'm not plugging it.
I'm being funny.
but it even read text embedded in pictures. Like, they had a picture of the tracksuit with LTT on the suit, and it was colored white. I don't know why ChatGPT saw it as red, but that was a mishap, but it read that there was a logo on the jacket. So I was like, it even reads text in pictures. Wow.
That's not even new. I mean, that's been happening on phones for
Yeah, but
generations.
it reads it. It includes it in its search. It includes
Well,
it in its
I mean, if you can
reply.
on iPhone or Android, you can copy and paste it. If you can copy and paste something, it can be grabbed
True.
by a
True, but
roller.
wow, was it astonishing? And it's so human-like. Like you can no longer make the difference. You can no longer know if you're talking to a human or
Steve
a,
is
or
a
a
Chat
bot anymore.
GPT fanboy. You're a fanboy.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fanboy.
You're a fanboy.
I don't
Admit
use Chat GPT though. I use Dan.
it.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what that is.
Dan is the movement on Reddit that's trying to, as they call it, jailbreak ChatGPT. Get it to do something.
It's actually
wrong.
been successful.
To a certain degree.
You kids and your newfangled toys.
No, but come on, it should surprise you too, because it's so human-like. I was like, I will be using it a lot because I'm not a bash scripting professional. If I want a bash script, I'll just ask it, but I'll check if the code is legit or not before I use it.
Zero Linux ships man pages, right?
Well, the regular ones of Arch, yeah.
So why not just man bash and learn how to write a bash script?
No, reading. Yeah, I should preach what I should
practice
apply
what
I preach. Yeah, I should practice what I preach, but because of my ADHD,
I would plug our Lord and Savior Terminal for Life, but his YouTube channel has been gone for like a year now, and I miss it. And of course, I'm apparently the only one that has a backup archive of his entire YouTube channel.
You gotta make that public, man. You have
I did not get his permission for distribution, unfortunately.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, I could try to read the man pages, but because of the ADHD, I fall asleep while reading the first lines. And my old age, of course.
All right, so here's what you do: you take a man page, and
TLDR.
you give it to ChatGPT and say, "Hey, make this interesting."
I can do that.
All right,
but it's to end it, to finish it is, people, when you use ChatGPT, be careful of the code it spits out. Check it before you use it. Very important, because you will save yourselves a lot of headaches.
Okay, on that happy note, that's the podcast for the week. If you want to watch us live, we do so every Saturday around 3:00 p.m. Eastern Time. Usually there are 4 of us. Tyler should be back next week if he doesn't decide to move to Hawaii. I mean, not that I can blame him. It's Hawaii. Who wouldn't want to move there, I guess. I don't actually want to move to Hawaii.
It's too humid over there.
It's like I have no interest in, I mean, do I look like a beach-going guy? I'm just saying I'm pasty white. There's a reason. Anyways, so yeah, Saturdays, 3:00 p.m. Eastern Time. If you want to watch this live on youtube.com/LinuxCast. If you want to support me on Patreon, you can do so. Why is it at the end of every show I can no longer talk? You can do so.
Oh, you were right. Soup. It's soup time.
It's, Patreon.com/LinuxCast is where you can find all of that stuff, including a exclusive podcast that goes up every single week. I got to do that for this week. Thanks to everybody who does support me on Patreon and YouTube. You guys are all absolutely amazing. Without you, the channels would just not be anywhere near where it is right now. So thank you so very, very much for your support. Thanks everybody for watching to the live show and afterwards if you've made it this far in the recorded show. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.